Well, here's my next video. This could be crazy talk. It very well could be crazy talk. Delusion. Quite possibly. But anyway, I was looking for some linguistic meaning behind Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. And I remember coming across something years ago where somebody was suggesting that Nebuchadnezzar in Russia, or in Russian, was like more of a statement, more of a sentence, or a phrase, like there was no king but the king, something like that, like Nie buhod no tsar, something like that. And I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. But, okay, well, for instance, kind of interesting, a skyscraper in Russian is Nebohod. Okay, something like this.
Небухот не царь.
Небуход не царь.
Невыход не царь.
Well, never mind that. But what is interesting is when I type in Nebuchadnezzar just into Google Translate, what's the meaning of that? A very large wine bottle equivalent in capacity to about 20 regular bottles. Since when? I have never heard in my life that a Nebuchadnezzar, as an English word, means a big jug. What is that, a joke? So here's a Google image search, and I'm looking for a 20 bottle in volume jug. Not seeing it. So, joke's on me, I guess. Okay, so I typed in Nebuchadnezzar and jug, and here's a picture that comes up. I never know what the heck I'm reading. I doubt everything. Methuselah's, Nebuchadnezzar's, what's in a bottle name? We frequently discuss the contents of a wine bottle, but what about the bottle itself? This article looks at a larger format bottles available in different shapes and sizes and the sometimes mysterious origin of their names. The most commonly found large format wine bottles include, in order of increasing size, Magnum, Double Magnum, Jeroboam, Rehoboam, no longer produced, a Methuselah, a Salmanzar, Baltazar, Nebuchadnezzar, and Solomon. It's the first time in my life I've ever heard this. You'd think I would have heard about this before. Aside from the wine itself, the glass used for handcrafted bottles can reach very high prices. For example, a Nebuchadnezzar bottle, 15 liters, is worth about 265 euros, while a Solomon 18 liters is worth around 600 euros. Okay, I'm sure if somebody ever came across my videos, they're going to start explaining to me the different standard size of bottles, and they'll probably leave a snide comment telling me about, oh, you should know what a Nebuchadnezzar is. Don't you know anything about bottles? I'll probably get something like that. But for the record, a Nebuchadnezzar is 15 liters. And why is this scary picture showing up? I'd love to know that. I mean, who decides what Google images become popular, and who decided to have this awful looking thing as the... Alright, I typed in 15-liter bottle, and this is what shows up. This is exactly the brand that my current workplace has. So I guess I'm actually drinking out of Nebuchadnezzar's myself. But my employer has never seen me drink straight from the tap of the Nebuchadnezzar. I think I might get fired if I did that. Anyway, sorry to go on and on, but I guess I come across things, I want to record them. So anyway, here's Nebuchadnezzar in the Hebrew.
Strong's H 5019. Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. So this is interesting here at the end. The Tsitzar almost sounds like Caesar. Although just reading the Hebrew letters, I don't know how this is Tsitzar, because this is N, E, B, Ch, or this makes the Ch, Nebuchadnezzar. I don't know where this extra ts between the last tsar comes from. Maybe Tsitzar is like Tatar. Who knows? Ooh, dangerous. Don't say that. And just for fun, in Polish,
Nabuchodonozor.
and confusingly, I found this out the other day when I was looking into this. There were two Nebuchadnezzars. And I actually think that the one mentioned in Daniel, according to their official history, I can't do the quotation signs with my fingers because you can't see that, but the Nebuchadnezzar 2 is actually the biblical one. Well, I guess I'll read it because it's interesting. Not that I necessarily believe what they say. Nebuchadnezzar 2, also Nebuchadnezzar 2, Nabukudur Usur, meaning, O God, Nabu. That's a new one I haven't heard about before. Preserve, defend my firstborn son. King of Babylon, was the longest reigning and most powerful monarch of the Neo-Babylonian era. His father, Nabopolassar, was an official of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. I guess I'll keep reading. Nebuchadnezzar is identified in the Bible as the king responsible for destroying Solomon's temple and initiating the Babylonian captivity, and is a significant character in the book of Daniel. So, I mean, once again, I have this notion that Nebuchadnezzar wasn't just taking bottles, unless they had like a really good refund price on them. Sorry to be a wise guy, but like I'm thinking you wouldn't just go into a foreign land to take their bottles. Sorry, I am being a wise guy. But here's an instance where Nebuchadnezzar is actually pinpointed for initiating the Babylonian captivity. Okay, well let's read a little bit about that, just the snippet. The Babylonian captivity, or Babylonian exile, is the period in history during which a number of people from an ancient kingdom of Judah were captives in Babylon. So, I don't think it's a stretch to think that maybe Nebuchadnezzar wasn't just taking vessels or bottles, but he was actually taking people for the Babylonian captivity. And I am belaboring that point. Alright, well that's enough talking and silly talk. But I suppose I do have to keep my videos interesting if I want people to watch them. So, now I'm working towards the next verse. I will just read it. I'll be a little more serious here. Oh, note to self to look up the New International Version translation of this as well. That would be interesting, because again, I just translated this verse. Maybe I got it wrong, and maybe with the reading of the NIV translation, however good or bad that may be, it might actually add insight as to the different pronouns used. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. So, again, very interesting. Here we're talking about vessels into the treasure house of God, and now we're talking about the children of Israel right after. Well, I will look at the Hebrew here, word by word. And then I'll break it down, hopefully, like I did in the previous video. So the first word is Amer, which means spoke, spake. The next word is Malek, which kind of means like king or angel, probably king. And it's prefixed by a ha, so it's Hamelech. The Strong's Texan translation says that this is Ashpenaz. And there is a lamed at the front, but then this little two dots here indicates a silent vowel sound. So could it be Lashpenaz or just Ashpenaz? Okay, so this is a Zion. So Lamed, Aleph, what do you call this one again? A Shin, a Pei. What's this one? A Nun, maybe? And a Zion. Lash, Panaz. And Zion makes the Z sound. This is Rav, or Rab, meaning master, maybe like rabbi. Strong's Texan translation says that this word is Saris, so I guess this is a Samek, Resh, Yod, Samek, Yod, Vav. This was an interesting word here, which I guess, according to the translation, is bow. And it's hard to really understand how that's bow, but when you click it, that's what it says. So Lamed, Hey, Bet, Yod, Aleph. So this is silent, but La, Ha, Ki, Y. Or excuse me, that's a bet. A B. L'chabiya. And somehow that he should bring. And this word is Bain. Bain. And it means of the children. Right away I can see this is like Yisrael. So, children of Israel. So this next word is Zereh, which is here. And for some reason it's prefixed with a Vav and a Mem, which is like Wem Tzereh. And it means seed, which might be a little bit crude to speak more about. This next word is, well, hold on. This is Melucha, except there is an H and an A sound. Ha-melucha. Ha-melucha. And that means and of the kings. And this is Pertamim, and it has a prefix here, which I looked up, which I guess means and from. So, and from Ha Pertamim, which is and of the princes. Okay, I forget where I was at, but I translated this, and I've got a picture on the paint program. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. I could be wrong. I better be careful what I say, but given that Nebuchadnezzar, whose name is not mentioned here, but it is mentioned here, considering that Nebuchadnezzar is actually the subject of this sentence because he's carrying the vessels into Shinar to his god, and now Jehoiakim is kind of out of the picture, I continue that Nebuchadnezzar is the king spoken of in this verse. Again, I stand to be corrected. So, I suppose if you're listening, you tell me, who is speaking? Which king is speaking here? And the king spake unto Ashpenaz. I just think this continues from the previous verse. Dare I say it, and Nebuchadnezzar spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs. Who's his? Of Ashpenaz's eunuchs? Of Ashpenaz's eunuchs? Or of Nebuchadnezzar's eunuchs? That he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. It's confusing as to what is being said here, because I don't know what this pronoun refers to. Okay, I squeezed it all onto the same screen. I actually didn't read this out loud yet. Okay, here it goes. Melech, which I believe is probably a reference to Nebuchadnezzar. Melech Nebuchadnezzar speaks to Lashpenaz, the Rab, or the master of the Saris of, which are the eunuchs, that he should bring the children of Israel, the seed of the kings of the Pertamim, or of the princes. It is interesting that, where's this Saris? Samek, Resh, Yod, Samek, Yod, Vav. That there is this Yod Vav, which I suppose if you tried to pronounce it, it might be like Yuf. Not that I know that, but it's neat because you have a Yuf for Uf, and here you have it at the end of a word. Kind of like Russian last names, Of, right, which means of, or son, the son of. And here you have it at the end of a word here, even though it might not be pronounced. And even the English word, even though English, it usually precedes the noun, of eunuchs. Saris of eunuchs. I noticed that too before when I was studying Russian, and I knew a little bit of Polish. That you have the English word is of, but if you want to say like of Polish people, Polsce, you put the letter V in front of that, or you put the letter V in front of the word. Not that I really know what I'm talking about, but this suffix or prefix is kind of being used even in the same way as it is in English. This he and his are tricky because it doesn't really distinguish which pronouns these refer to. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz. I'm thinking out loud. And the king and Nebuchadnezzar spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, or that's the Saris of. Now, whose eunuchs do they belong to? Are these Ashpenaz's eunuchs, or are they Nebuchadnezzar's eunuchs? I don't see a clear way of figuring that out. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. Now, whose seed? That's probably, I don't want to be rude, but spermatozoa. And I think that maybe the seed is of the king being Nebuchadnezzar. So Ashpenaz is in charge of delivering the king's samples. I should stop being funny. He's in charge of bringing the king's seed. What, are you recolonizing something? You need I don't know. Well, anyway, I guess I'll segue into the next verse. Forgive me for being silly. I just do that. Sorry. But children in whom was no blemish. I will try to read the original Hebrew. If that is the original, I'm not sure. But it seems to elaborate on children in this verse. And we'll see when I study it. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And I guess this is King Nebuchadnezzar's children. Never mind, I said that. I'm not saying that these are his children, but children worthy to stand in the king's palace. And these children might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. So if this is true, that this sentence, that these children in this verse are an elaboration of the children mentioned here, which I would think they are the children of Israel mentioned here, then the children of Israel speak the language or the tongue of the Chaldeans. So interesting, because studying this stuff, you can discern some things, and wow, what did the children of Israel speak? Is anybody asking that question? This verse says they speak the tongue of the Chaldeans.